Yes, welcome Loony listeners. This is Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast, and we have another ISLA RA Sessions for you. So, we are, of course, at Grand Mansion. We're in a different room now, a different wing to where we previously conduct these interviews. And we're in the games room here, so I can hear, billiards or pool tables clinking away. The boys are having fun, kicking back, relaxing. And with us for this awesome ISLA RA event, we have, of course, High Priest Khonshu. Khonshu, how
Hello.
are you? Yes,
I am doing well.
Yep. How do you like Mark Spector's, games room? It's pretty good.
Oh, look, it's not bad. Probably hasn't been updated since the 80s, but it's got a nice retro feel.
Yeah,
Got a musky feel.
It's got the huge, what do you call it? Huge deer head, stag head, just up there on the wall. Bit of a hunter, I guess. And with us, of course, as you would know from our newsletter, the ISLA RA, our guest today is none other than the power of Chad. Chad, how are you?
Pretty good. Good morning, gents.
Good morning. Top of the morning to you, Chad. Very exciting to have you with us, of course. We haven't done an ISLA RA for Chad, and Chad's been a mainstay with ITK for a while now, hasn't he, Connor?
Mate.
The power of Chad.
Has been one of the first, I don't know, almost since the start. Probably one of our first guests.
I think so.
Featured a number of episodes.
Yeah.
I think it was about episode 40-ish, 45 maybe.
Oh, that's like you. That's
Look at
decades
this.
ago.
Look at this memory man. He's got it down.
We've got a memory man. We have a gremlin with us. And, we've got someone else. So, anyway, so as Loonies, as you are well aware, if this is your first time, we are facing I believe it's oh my god, I think it is a Waning Gibbous. So we have been asked to do an ISLA RA. And so we have our guest Chad with us, a Loony, and what we usually do is try to get, fellow Loonies in to learn more about them, just, kind of break the ice a bit, but also get to know what their top 4 comics are if they were stranded forever on the ISLA RA. So what 4 single issues would you take with you? We'll go through that, but first, of course, we'll just get to know Chad, and we usually ask our guests the same thing. So, the power of Chad. I'd like to open up with our usual. How did you first get into comics?
Well, it kind of started when I was a real little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it started with me just kind of going through saying, Batman's so cool. Really into Batman. Well, one day my uncle Mike, he went ahead and dropped off a comic book for me, and it was Aliens versus Batman.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And, that just kind of set me on both those fandoms.
Oh, so you really like the Aliens franchise as well, yeah?
Oh yeah, like the H.R. Geiger artwork is amazing.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And he's done work for Danzig, he's done work for all sorts of other metal bands, and it's all just top of the line. I love the acrylics.
Yeah. So,
have you read that again recently? Doesn't Aliens vs. Batman hold up pretty well to this day still? I feel like
it does.
A pretty good one to start on.
It really does.
Okay. Do you remember who wrote it? Or, it's a bit of a...
I don't recall. I could conjure that up in just a few seconds.
Use your mystic abilities, Chad, of conjuring up information. Don't mind the ticking keyboards. Chad is he's literally conjuring it up in a puff of brimstone as Chad does that. You mentioned, so there's an appreciation obviously with the art. H.R. Giga or Geiger, I'm not sure how he's pronounced. You mentioned Danzig and stuff. You're pretty into what genre of music is that? Danzig, is that metal?
Well, the thing is, like, he kind of traverses a lot of genres. You could say that he started the doom metal genre. Okay. He does blues. He's done entire albums of just classical music.
Oh, really? Wow.
Really. He does Black Aria 1 and 2, and those are classical.
Oh, wow. Is it on Spotify, by any chance?
I don't know if those are. His properties get, like, taken down all the time, then put back up. Just depends on what month it is.
Yeah. I was just thinking maybe I can have a dabble in that. Khonshu, do you listen to Danzig or anything like that?
I've always meant to, but no, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry.
Actually, I don't know. What are your musical tastes, Khonshu?
Look, I don't know either. I'll just listen to anything that comes along. I do like my I like my darker metals. I like my folk. I like my weird indie shit. Some nice
excellent. No,
spiritual
cool
music. I don't know.
You like Jeff Rosenstock?
Haven't heard of him.
No, I can't say I've heard. Is he good? I mean, obviously, it'd be good if you recommend him.
He's pretty talented, but he's a weird guy.
Right up our alley, eh? Yeah, cool. Well, look, Chad, also, just going back further steps to, how you got into comics. So, we're looking at Aliens and we're looking at Batman. Now, kind of like tendrils, kind of reaching out or roots going in through the ground. What sprung from that? So, did you look at Batman? Did you then expand your DC universe, or with Aliens, did you start looking at Predator? How did it flourish your interest in I guess the greater comic universe?
Well, definitely with Batman, it got me more into the powerless vigilantes, the ones that they don't have these perks or abilities that are ingrained onto them. They're just kind of they work with what they got. And they're very rough and tumble. Like Mooney, like Bruce Wayne's alter ego. Just Midnighter and all that jazz. These guys got nothing, but they do it. Yeah.
That's which for me as well. It just makes them so much more appealing. Not to say I got anything against cosmic and stuff, but the vulnerability I think that goes with it is a real big attracting feature. Connor, you have a vast range of likes. I mean, I guess we all do. Would you say you're more of a street level person as well? Or?
Yeah, I'm a big street level fan. That's how I got back into comics.
Yeah. Chad, do you like
the Question, Daredevil?
Yeah, Daredevil. Yeah, Chad, are you into Daredevil as well?
Oh yeah, Daredevil's amazing work.
Yeah, absolutely as well. And do you, having said that as well, do you still touch base with the likes of Captain Marvel, Silver Surfer, Guardians? I mean, how are you with cosmic level stuff or big powered, pardon me, hero stuff?
Usually only touch base with the cosmic or hard upper tier characters, in crossovers and whatnot. Yeah. I don't know. It's just I don't like talking about god level characters because just my dad could beat up your dad.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Yeah, right. Yeah, Connor. Anything to add there?
No. I think I don't know. I've been a big fan of the cosmic stuff. What can I say? But
yeah.
Chad taking it away.
Yeah, I mean, I guess also as well, Chad. And before we go any further, just want the Loonies to know as well. So in the newsletter, that would have come out just prior to this episode, there would be 4 links, encrypted links to Chad's 4 favourite books. Now, we won't reveal them yet, so we'll just go through them as they're kind of revealed. But if you want to prep yourself, you can just click those links and you can find out what issues they are for Chad. Otherwise, if you want to be surprised, just don't hit those links and we'll get to them. But having said that, as a disclaimer, I wanted to just mention, Chad, to you about Spawn, because Spawn is one of your picks that we'll look into later on. Spawn's quite hugely powered, right? So what attracted his character to you then?
Well, he started off as just a regular guy, and he became something by his own means. He became a hardened assassin, and he turned into the Hellspawn after he died. There's tons of implications on who was at fault for that one, but, it's just he worked with what he was given, and he got the best of it as much as he could. But yeah. I know eventually, throughout the storyline, he gets to be extremely powerful, taking out vast celestial bodies, just kind of on a whim. Mm-hmm. But that's it's a journey to get there.
Yeah. Well, I'm only very familiar with him. I collected it when it first came out in the 90s. And correct me if I'm wrong, if it's still the case, but apparently his power was limitless, right? And the whole premise of it was that he had a time stamp, apparently. Every time he used his power, he would actually lose a bit of... he'd edge closer towards, I guess, returning back to hell.
Yep.
Is that still the case? Or had they whacked around with his power set since then?
They've pretty much gone and done away with that. It's it was kind of like a way to hook him back into hell. Whenever it's oh, hey, you're out of time. No gas in the tank.
Yes. And so what happens? That surely would have happened, right?
It happened a few times.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
But of course, it's that's just another story device.
Yeah, okay. Because that was the bit. They always had the little... I remember the numerical values of it peppered throughout the issues of the first few issues, and every time it's really fun because he's got that he's got the bright green, I guess, as magic or whatever it is.
Necroplasm.
Necroplasm, yeah, really, really cool. And he had the chains and the cape, really fun stuff. Anyway, we will get all to that later on. Chad.
The power of Chad.
Has some really good picks, and can't wait to get into them. Khonshu, are you? I know you're playing the game, playing some pool over there. Do you guys want a drink or anything?
Oh, I think whenever we've got
the power of Chad.
Here, I've got to have a nice cold coffee.
Awesome as well. Yeah, it's always fun to have
the power of Chad.
Here, and and I wouldn't mind having a drink as well. Chad, yourself?
I think I'll just go with cold coffee.
Cold coffee again. Oh, the usual. Hang on. Let me just ring the... There we go. We'll just wait for Samuel's... it's Netta. Hi, Netta. Samuel's is fed up, is he? Fed up with us. Okay, cool. Well, anyway, we're just wondering if we can have some drinks. Chad's usual. Just ice cold, old coffee. Cool. Connor, you're having a coffee as well, are you?
Oh, yeah. Nice cold coffee.
Nice cold coffee. Strong and black, like Connor's heart, and 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 I'll have a glass of milk. Thank you, Netta. Excellent, cool. Well, this whole vibe here. We've got pinballs here. There are pool tables. It's all happening here. We're gonna have our nice cool drink, but I wanted also just to turn now, Chad, to our second question. And, of course, us being ITK, how did you get into Moon Knight, our Fist of Khonshu?
Well, I mean, I stayed in the past. I forgot which episode, but it was, Ultimate Alliance.
Yes.
And
yep.
Yeah.
my friend presented this character, clad all in white, and the indicting voiceover came in, just announcing that it was the Moon Knight. And it was impressive. And then looking at the skill sets, it was alluring. And then eventually, it just kind of dropped off. And you beat the game so many times, right? Well, and it didn't start coming back until probably the beginning of the Bemis run. I caught wind of the fandom, got back into it. Here I am.
Yeah. Of the Bemis run?
Yeah.
Really?
Goddamn.
It was
Not bad.
pretty, not that long ago. I just kind of jumped in and, went feet
right.
first.
You've obviously read since, or have you, the Lemire run and all that, and all the other prior?
Oh, yeah. I've caught up.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, okay, wow. Yeah.
How was the Bemis run for getting back into Moon Knight?
Yeah.
Really perplexing. I didn't know what the hell this getting into.
I mean, you could arguably say, for some, it would have maybe put off some people with only because of the complexities that Bemis draws out. Did you find it in any way kind of overbearing at all?
I wouldn't say so. It was just...
No?
It was a weird foot to start into. It's like... I don't know, trying to shoot pool left-handed.
Yeah, wow, okay. No, that's good. It's great. It's really, really interesting to hear. Yeah, and obviously you would have played into your wheelhouse of, as you mentioned before, of street level, being vulnerable, obviously the added dynamic of having these different personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it amazes me how many people get into Moon Knight via Ultimate Alliance or video or just gaming. He seems to be very a very successful avatar in the gaming industry. I mean, have you played many other Moon Knight iterations other than Ultimate Alliance, Chad?
Well, I mean, there's the version of Moon Knight that they have in Future Fight, and while I was playing Contest of Champions, I got them, but it's like there were limited resources, and I just didn't have the time. And Contest of Champions extremely time dependent. You gotta sit down with it for a bunch of time, and I just didn't have that.
I totally understand what you mean. Like when Contest of Champions came out, I kind of was put under its spell, and usually end up spending hours. Like, that was the game that Eve thought that I was addicted to gaming, because I'd just be on the balcony or something, just with my tablet, just playing hours on end. But yeah, you're right; it's so time consuming, which is a shame. It is a fun game, but because Connor, if you remember, we did the video games review, and we asked Rick Ball. And yourself as well, if you played much of the Moon Knight games, or the Moon Knight appearances that he had. One of them was, Chad, the Spider-Man games. I'm not sure, had you played any of them and come across Moon Knight?
No, I haven't really played the Spider-Man games.
Oh, okay. We'll get to that a bit later on with the gaming. Any other questions there, Khonshu, to ask Chad about
what's
Moon Knight?
your favourite Moon Knight run? I feel that's a classic.
That's tough. It's like there's different iterations that have a better version or facet to Moon Knight.
You can only pick one. It is hard. It is bloody hard because they're so different, aren't they? That's the beauty of it. That's there's a little bit of something for everyone. But no getting away from it. If you could, Chad, what would it be?
I think it would end up being Vengeance of the Moon Knight.
Ooh, nice pick. You would be good mates with another fellow Loony, Daryl, I believe, and I'm sure you know him. He's been popping up in the ITK community. He loves his Vengeance of the Moon Knight. So a little shout out to fellow Loony there, Daryl. Hope you're listening. Right, yeah, which is a fantastic run. Connor, how do you like Vengeance of the Moon Knight as well?
Yeah, no, sometimes it can be polarizing. Not as polarizing as the Bendis run we're covering, obviously, but it's a new direction. No, I'm a big fan. I really like how it really was a good follow-up to the previous series, I felt.
Yeah.
And I love I love those first 6 issues, especially. You got the Sentry, you got the Asylum. That's just quality stuff.
Yeah. It is. It continues to surprise me whenever I reread it. It is a decent run. It's funny though, also as well, because and again, we might touch upon this a bit later, but there are aspects to it that I think veer slightly differently to Moon Knight's mythology. Yet it's accepted more so than say what Bendis tries to do in some of his stuff. So anyway, I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't know if you think the same, Chad or Connor. Did it seem? I mean, as you say, Connor, it was polarizing. How do you see it as being quite controversial?
On the Bendis run or on Vengeance?
No, the Vengeance of the Moon Knight run. Would you classify it as a controversial run? Maybe
in the terrific amount of violence, but I wouldn't say that it really separates the houses of Moon Knight that much. But that's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, no. That's I'm just interested as well, because I don't know. I mean, I think it's great, and I think anything that is handled differently is exciting, and it's good for a character, rather than just rinse and repeat. But everyone's different. But anyway, that was interesting. I guess we come to our third question here, and we had a little chat beforehand, Chad. And so what I'd like to ask you is, like, you've touched upon gaming. One of your big passions, obviously, as well. What would your current favourite games be at the moment?
Well, I've been really getting into Warframe, like really getting into it, like just sitting down all night, just binging that.
Do you know this, Connor?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I don't play as much of Warframe as I'd like, because nobody wants to play it with me. But I'm a big fan. There's actually a lot of cool Egyptian looking suits in that as well.
Cool.
Which I'm sure Chad has already owned and rocking.
Yeah. Oh, well, Chad, can you a brief description for the Loonies out there, what Warframe's all about?
Warframe is kind of like a sci-fi, action-oriented, squad-based game that I think it came out about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's kind of got this, what's the right term? It's like a low-yield, high-tech feel to it. Like, it's all very analog, but there's just like a feeling of almost magic to the way they implement technology.
Okay.
And like Connor was saying, there's a lot of Egyptian feel to certain facets of it. Like, certain factions have like almost hieroglyphics for the way that they do their writing. There's a Warframe, which is essentially like an Iron Man suit that your psyche inhabits for a spell, essentially. Mm-hmm. And it's called the Inaros suit, and I've been using that. And you even gave him a throwing crescent and decked them all in white.
Lovely. Awesome. And is it a... look, I'm not very too into gaming, so kind of maybe you might have a few questions here. A few more, like, detailed questions. Is it like Fallout, like those sorts of games where it's massively expansive and And like, is that how is why it takes a long time as well? Because you've got to track stuff down and stuff? Or?
It takes a long time because you're switching between the different suits that you've gotten, the different weapons, and trying to get your reputations all ground out. That's a huge one, just the rep grind.
Okay.
And then the rest is just grinding materials to get better stuff all the time.
Okay, so it's not like, what do you call them? How do you term it? The big bosses. It's not like you meet like a secondary boss and then another boss, and then there's a finality at the end where you have to defeat a huge thing?
There is, but it's not in the same capacity, like, say, World of Warcraft or, something like that. The raid bosses are a little bit smaller in scale. You're not killing gods.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. And obviously, this is a newish game, is it? The effects, computer effects, is quite up there?
Well, they're actually doing a bunch of... they recently did 2 patches, like, back-to-back, and really fixed up a lot.
Okay.
Like, it's a free-to-play, but it's like you buy into certain parts of the game.
Okay. Have you done that?
A couple times. Nothing, like, tragic. Yeah. I'm not dropping hundreds, but...
Yeah. Just enough to, just something to get what you want that you can't otherwise get.
Is that game still big? Like, are the servers still pretty populated? Yeah, right. Not bad. I know it's come to the Switch now, which is where I should probably pick it up.
Ah.
But I imagine you're on PS4 or PC.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. And what other, if you're not playing Warframe, what other games on at the moment, Chad?
Well, I've been doing couch co-op with my wife and my best friend, doing different like character runs for what's it called? Diablo 3.
Oh, I've heard of that. Nice. Well, I've only heard of it. Yeah, you played it, Connor?
Yeah. Well, more Diablo 2, but
yeah.
And again, for the novices, what is this game about?
It's basically just stopping the primevals from taking over the world. Nothing big.
You can shrug it off. That sounds like. Would it be compatible to adapt into a film? Do you think, or Warframe? Would that be adaptable?
I think you could definitely do a Warframe film.
Mm-hmm.
Diablo, I don't think so. Just because the characters that you play as are pretty much a blank slate. Like, they have bits of, like, their background thrown in, but they don't really have emotional standing. They're just kind of like, oh, we're going to go do this now.
Okay. Right, and if you could fan cast someone from I'm really putting these putting you on the spot here, Chad. If you can fan cast someone for the Warframe protagonist, I'm assuming who would that be? Who would you choose? Jake Gyllenhaal?
Because Jake Gyllenhaal goes everywhere.
He does, yes, exactly. He's the default. Yeah. I don't know. Anyone in particular? Would you like to see it on the big screen? I don't know. If you're a fan of the game, is it something that you'd be likely to go and see if it was out?
Yeah, I can't decide on any one person because your primary character is just whoever you make of it.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Right.
But I mean, I'd probably go see a Warframe film.
Yeah, nice.
I know there's Warframe comics. I've never read them, though.
Yeah, they're actually done by a guy who does the Darkness comics. It's Stefan Sejic.
Oh, cool.
Wow, really? Shit, I might actually check those out.
Yeah.
I love Sejic. Goddamn. Never mind.
And that's connected to Mark Silvestri as well, isn't it, Chad?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, well, I might have to check this out then as well. Cool.
Just circles within
also,
circles.
Just, yeah, exactly. How cool is that? Sorry, Khonshu?
Yeah, I imagine we're probably moving on to the next part. I just want to ask one more question.
Yeah, of course.
Just going to say, I know, Chad, you got to be reading some pretty current comics at the moment. What do you recommend for the Loonies out there that's currently on shelves
yeah,
before
good one.
we dive back into the past?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd have to go with the new lineup for Umbrella Academy.
Oh, okay.
Because they have this new, essentially, season coming out because they're no longer working on their past on that timeline. Because, the first run came out, and then they went back to Dallas. And then now they're actually progressing in their time frame.
Is that Hotel Oblivion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good shit.
It's all sorts of fun. It's all the kids after the almost apocalypse. And the new mission that they're on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but, some of them are in rehabilitation, some need rehabilitation.
Right.
Yeah. And it's got a different feel than the show, but it's still really good.
Yeah, nice. Did you watch the whole season already for Umbrella Academy?
Oh, yeah. Like in 2 days.
Oh, wow. Okay. A little bit of a fan then, I guess.
A little.
Nice one. No, I've only seen, we've discussed it previously as well with Connor. Connor, you've burned through them. I've only seen, I think, episode 1. Really enjoying it, though. Yeah, pretty well done. Ellen Page is pretty cool in it. Although the first episode, she's not, she doesn't have that big a role. But there's enough, there are enough breadcrumbs there to actually entice you to watch further. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty cool. Oh, hello, Anetta. Thank you. Look, we're just about to head off. We were thinking about heading off somewhere for Chad's 3rd and 4th book. So, would you mind putting them in a keep cup?
All three. So demanding, right?
Yes, Anetta. Well, I'm sure sustainability and such. A lot better than paper cups. So, thanks, Netta. And Loonies, we'll take a short break. I think, guys, for Chad's 3rd and 4th, there's no better place to go than hell itself. Are you guys ready for the challenge?
Look, I'm not sure I've ever wanted to go to hell, but I guess I'm stuck with you guys, so let's go.
Chad, yeah, you got your digital camera ready just in case we see anyone famous.
Yeah, I think I'm ready.
Okay, excellent. All right, Loonies, hang tight. We'll be right back after this short message.
Hello, I'm Anthony.
And I'm Dr. Issues.
And we're hosts of Capes on the Couch, the podcast where comics get counseling.
Superheroes don't always get to go home happy. That's where we come in.
We offer psychiatric and mental health analysis of comic book characters.
So check us out at capesonthecouch.live and across all social media platforms at Capes on the Couch.
Yes, welcome back, Loony listeners. Oh, it's a bit hot here. Actually, it's a bit hotter than I thought. I shouldn't have worn my hoodie and my mitts and my beanie. It's a little warm. How are you guys going over there?
Look, I'm sure I'd end up here soon enough. This is a bit premature. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of all these spikes and fires, but yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's acquired taste. You could probably get used to it. Yeah.
I thought I saw a picture of you, Connor, as we came in, like on the entry in the foyer. So I think, yeah. I think you're on the
Employee of the Month.
Employee of the Month. Oh, that's even worse.
I'm the one who puts all the gremlins in our Skype. I'm that guy.
Yeah,
that's what they hire me to do.
And quite unerring, Chad. A few people seem to know you here. What's going on?
I rent a few suits.
So anyway, it is a warm place here, and Loonies, you must be ready to find out what books Chad has chosen. These are his honourable mentions, so they rank 3 and 4 in his top 4 books, and what we do, we'll just go broadly through them, because it's just too damn hot here, And before we get whisked off somewhere else to look in depth at his top two books. But we can now reveal, if you have not been peeking into those encrypted links, one of Chad's honourable mentions is none other than Spawn. This is by Image Comics. It is issue 66. Now, I'm sure, Chad, you've read it. Connor, you've made yourself acquainted with this issue?
I sure have. The first issue of Spawn I've ever read.
Interesting. Well, actually, it'd be great to ask, to see why Chad chose this, but then to ask what your thoughts are on your first Spawn. But Chad, yeah, take us through a synopsis, I guess, a summary of what happens in this issue.
Well, to really talk about this issue, you have to know what happened in the past 3 issues. Mm-hmm. So Jason Wynn just sent Spawn on this whole thing, and basically he killed a lot of people like Spawn does, and it was all basically to get his identity back. Al Simmons is Hellspawn. He's this disgusting walking corpse, but he came back to this world because he wanted to be back with his wife.
Yeah.
Lots of problems arose because, once again, Al Simmons is being led on by various forces. Well, in life, those forces tended to be, military, leaders, like the Punisher, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Well, in unlife, now he's led on by forces like, Malebolgia, the devil. God is even in on it.
Oh gosh, you can't get a break, can
nah.
you? Well, yeah. So it's generally also as well we see him kind of come back to form by the end of it, right?
Yeah. At this point in issue 66, he's recovered essentially what he has when he's wearing the suit. He's an actual body. He thinks that he has, his face back, all that jazz. Well, he does, but slowly and surely by the end of this, it's like he's decomposing in the sunlight. The skin that he had in the previous issues, it's all just melting away.
Oh, gosh.
So, once again, Al is being turned into a monster against his will. But the real point of this issue is not so much him and what's going on, but the fact that Cogliostro, which is also known as Cog, in the mythos, that's also Cain.
Right.
The guy who invented murder and fratricide in one go. Yeah.
He kind of makes Cain Marco look like someone's Professor X's best friend.
Yeah. But he's talking to Twitch and his partner about trying to keep Al on the straight and narrow. That Spawn needs them to get him back to his humanity. Which they're having to take into account because, well, they're cops. And they have to just let this guy mutilate these evil people.
Yes, a very interesting comic, and I guess you are with this. If you don't know any knowledge prior, it is kind of jumping into the middle of something. Although this issue, there's a lot there to actually give you a nice taste of what Spawn is. How did you find it, Connor? As a first-time Spawn reader.
I've watched the MTV cartoons. So I know a bit about Spawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was pretty interesting. It was a whole other look at Spawn as well that I haven't quite seen. This deep wallowing in darkness. It's pretty interesting. I like the idea of the detectives. I thought the bit with the family was a lot more interesting.
Yeah. Those detectives have been there since the get-go. I remember them from all the way in issue 1. And Chad, I guess the big question is, why did you choose this issue? How was this issue important for you?
If I was going to be stuck on a desert island for who knows how long, it's gonna mess with my persona. That's just being there by yourself. And I figure this would be a great type of I guess you could say, vantage point to keep hold of that across who knows how long. But
that's a very... Sorry?
A strategic planning.
Very thoughtful, actually. Yeah, nice one. Yeah, great. I mean, look, I'm just looking at the art is Todd McFarlane. It's just really... I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm a fan of Todd McFarlane as well.
Todd Father.
The Todd Father. Really, really nice. The inking is a lot different as well to his 90s stuff. It's actually, dare I say, even more detailed. But yeah, it's a real treat to kind of see it. And where is Spawn? Sorry, where is he located? Where are we around in America here? Which city?
It's supposed to be New York City. It's in a...
Oh, it is New York.
They call it the Rat City. It's like the back alleys and specifically like the dens where people have been like thrown and no one will take them. And
because
that's where he stands vigil over like these people that are just cast out.
Because it's definitely, again, it's kind of like a Gotham or a or a New York City vibe with, say, Daredevil. It's definitely like a Spawn pocket. His portion of the city. It's got a certain vibe to it. I don't know if you gathered that as well, Connor. It's dark and seedy and all that sort of stuff. It's, really really cool. There's obviously no shortage of humour as well with Al suiting up, and here obviously Chad because he makes mention of this. So as you said as well, he didn't know that his face was gone. Like, so was he looking okay before?
In the past 2 issues, he had a face.
Past 2 issues, yeah.
Like, it was, full, his nose was still there. The only thing was his eyes were still beaming with the necroplasm, that green sheen across them. And he's like, okay, whatever, I'll wear some shades.
Yeah.
So,
but
as you see him here, he's like, got a nice suit on. Like, he's dressed to the hilt and he's excited. He's gonna be Al Simmons again. No.
Not at all. No. And the expressions of the way that Todd McFarlane draws, just I guess the citizens of New York is pretty fun, I think, because they're...
Is this Capullo drawing this issue? Did I misread that?
Oh, Capullo. But it's very much Todd McFarlane.
It's pencils by Greg Capullo. And it's inks with Todd McFarlane and Chance Wolfe.
Wow. Like, this is very... Like, I was fooled. This really looks like Todd McFarlane's drawings as well. His inking must just really have a heavy hand in it. I'm familiar. I can't really... I know Capullo does a lot of, the Dark Knight stuff. Can't remember what his art looks like, but this certainly looks like McFarlane stuff. Anyway, he's done really well. Are you familiar with Capullo stuff, Connor or Chad?
I'm sure if I pulled up his repertoire, I'd be like, oh, hey.
Yeah, okay, right.
His bits of the New 52 I really liked, and he's probably done some indie work that I've read.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, all right. Well, just because I was just making comment of because it is consistent with Tom McFarlane's other art, which he pencils as well, just with caricatures of people's faces and stuff. He usually does accentuate things here and there, whether they be the ears or the nose, or and it just gives them a really, I don't know, almost comical look, I guess. If you look at Twitch at the beginning, he's very comical. So this is any other thoughts on this one, Connor, or any other points, Chad, that you want to make about this issue that really makes it hold special for you?
Do you still keep up with Spawn at the moment, Chad? I know it's still ongoing at like nearly 300.
Yeah, it's 303 at this point. But
okay, so you're up to date?
Not up to date. I'm still stuck at like 200. But
Okay.
yeah, I just need to like sit down and actually get to it.
Yeah.
Lay off Warframe.
It's actually pretty. Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Like, I wouldn't mind getting back into Spawn and just seeing what he's up against. Does he, in the 200 or so that you've read, does he interact with any other like Savage Dragon or anything like that?
I'm almost sure that Savage Dragon was like around like I think 120.
Okay.
Of course, he used to interact with Angela all the time. Because
Yeah, until Marvel bought her.
well, Marvel didn't buy her because Image is like entirely
No?
based off of creator-owned properties. So if you go to a different
Right.
like place, different publisher, you take that with you.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
okay.
Guy who created Angela brought her to Marvel. Yeah,
Neil Gaiman.
I think it was Neil Gaiman.
Oh, I always thought Angela was. Sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
always thought. Sorry. I always thought Todd McFarlane created Angela, but no, probably no. Okay. And so who did you say who created her?
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman, really?
Mm.
And they brought her into
Okay.
Marvel, saying that she was from heaven. It was another dimension, and
Yes.
yeah. So that was an interesting turn.
Have I got this wrong? Is Angela meant to be related to Thor in any way?
So basically, Angela is how Ragnarok depicted Hela.
Okay.
Like, that was almost
Oh,
entirely
really?
her.
Okay. Oh, right. Okay.
And yeah, she's just like the older sister, and she kicks ass better than just about everyone, and that's where it is. But she came through not knowing anything about her past. So
Right. Yeah. But she's good. She's good now, though, isn't she? Like, isn't she in the Guardians and stuff?
she's relatively good. I mean, she's not like on a path to kill a lot of people, but people end up dead a lot around her.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm so invested in her, in her moral behaviour, but anyway, just yeah, okay, cool. I forgot where we were talking about what we were talking about earlier on. Sorry, Chad, you were talking
Interactions
about
with Spawn with other characters.
yes, yes. Yeah, because also Image has changed as well, hasn't it? It used to be, when it started out, you have Cyberforce, Youngblood, Pit, Spawn, Savage Dragon, Shadowhawk, all these titles, and I guess they were building a universe. Obviously, Image has changed now, where the focus is on creator-owned stuff, and the draw cards are the writers, and the artists themselves. So, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, right? The Image universe isn't really interconnected, is it? I mean, you're not going to have someone in Kill or Be Killed bumping into, someone from Saga. That's right, yeah? Yeah, they're all pretty independent. So I guess, yeah, the longer Spawn goes, like, whatever he's up to now, it's less likely that he'll bump into the likes of... But we do have Cyberforce back. I know that. I've seen that on. And Youngblood is back, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That had a series last year or the year before.
Okay. Yeah, I think, the year before last, maybe. Yeah, I don't know how that went. But anyway. Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, so, great issue. Well, obviously, we don't rate these things because these are Chad's top 4, so they'd be like full stars or crescent darts all round, I'm sure. Full moons, blue moons for you, Chad. Shall we move on to the next one then? So, one of the other honourable mentions for Chad, and everyone will be happy. Standing ovation. We have Chad has chosen A Vengeance of the Moon Knight. This is by Greg Howitz and Opena. It's issue 6 that Chad has chosen. That is kind of like the roundup for the first arc. And again, Chad, how would you kind of summarise this in a nutshell?
I think I'd summarize it by saying it's kind of like sort of like a tour de force on the resistance between Khonshu and like his trying to brainwash Mark, and Mark just trying to shrug him off. Like, even with how crazy and creepy Khonshu is, Mark's just always trying to stonewall.
Yeah.
But as far as the story goes, it's Mark just kind of talking over drinks, summarizing how things have been going, and it kind of progresses into a little bit of crawly action, bump on the head.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. Just skateboard bonk. But then it's also trying to track down, Bushmen in this warehouse. And, it's just like, you get a little bit of a hint from Crawley where he might be. He knows a guy who knows a hooker, etc. Typical Crawley.
Yeah, exactly.
But I really love the action sequence that comes out. Just like, this is top of the line action. Like, it's just one giant duel in this warehouse between Bushman and Mooney, and it progresses into this very fiery finisher, and just a couple of these frames are just classic, just with Moon Knight jumping out of the water, taking Bushman down. It's just incredible work, and aside from all this, like, it's super visceral. You step out of it, and it's just incredible, like, the willpower between these two characters. Bushman is impaled with a gun.
I know. It is utterly brutal.
And he goes ahead and reaches back and pulls the trigger. It's like, are you joking right now?
I know, that's hilarious. I had to double take and see what he was doing again.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, he's got a muzzle coming out of him. And he just... it's hilarious.
But,
yeah.
Just like... And then the fact that, throughout the previous issue, Khonshu's, like, around every corner, mocking Mark. Just like, hey, you need to, like, actually listen to me, or this is just going to get worse.
Yeah.
Like, and that's just...
Yeah, it was a good reminder of how good Khonshu was in this run. I almost forgot how important a part he was, but he's really well done here.
Yeah.
Khonshu's, very imposing in it. And I, apart from Khonshu as well, Bushman here, I mean, for me, like you, Chad, the action here just takes the cake for me. It's just, if you want a fight between Moon Knight and Bushman, you get it in this issue. It's really cool.
Yeah. And, let's see. Like, as things progressed, Khonshu mocks Mark all the time. Just like, hey, you need to talk to me. You need to do my will. That's why you're here. And by the end of this melee, where Mark is about to cut off Bushman's face again, and almost like whimpering.
Yeah.
Bushman's like, don't take my face again. You wouldn't punch a guy with glasses, would you? Like that type of remark. And, with the moon beaming over Mark, he just drops it. He lets Bushman go, essentially. Don't get me wrong.
But in between...
Huh?
Sorry, but in between there's a huge, awesome splash page of Khonshu.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Even with the resistance of Mark, Khonshu is only bolstered by that. He is pissed. And he's towering over buildings. Smokestack is going up into his girdle. And it's just crazy. Like,
it's crazy stuff.
Crazy, right?
It is.
Weird.
Yeah. And there's so many facets to this as well. I mean, towards the end, as you're describing this, we also get to see, as an added incentive, a bit of the profile as well. He's in the masses, and he's struggling with his head because we know previously in the Houston run he finds Mark very hard to read, and he obviously has been. Well, you assume that he's been scoping Moon Knight out, but he just can't get a hold onto him. Something to do with, I think we discussed this before, Chad and Connor, about supernatural beings being harder for the profile to lock into. So I believe he's definitely got the sense of that.
I completely agree, and I think that essentially this massive towering Khonshu on a different playing field, like, he senses, and the static of it is just dissonance between his like perceptions.
Yeah.
So it's
very, very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. And then I mean, before we get more into it, I just want to know as well. I mean, you have mentioned it, Chad, why you chose it. Any particular point as well, similar to the Spawn? Is it because it does something for you if you are stuck on an island, or is it because of the action and just the straight-out story of it?
In this case, it's the action. It's the payoff is right here.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff, and there is deeper meaning, but that's not what this one's about.
Yeah, I mean there are true. And there's moving parts here, and there's the teaser with the profile towards the end. He's decided to actually take this one step further, and you see him interspersed with Mark having a nice quality time with Marlene. We see the profile, full on asleep on the plane. He gets up again, but he's made his way to Egypt, and again, as a clincher for this, as a nice little carrot that's dangled, I love it at the end, he makes his way to the Temple of Khonshu, and we discussed this a little bit before the show, Chad. He's got no eyes in this. Did you see that as well, Connor? This is totally different from the Houston profile.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going on with him at first. I always thought it was a different character, but then I was like, oh.
Whether he's a mutant, isn't he? Whether his mutation has changed him, but in any case, he finds himself at the foot of the statue of Khonshu, and he says, beautifully done by artist and writer, like, now I see, So it's a nice way to cap it off. And then you have next Deadpool. So the Vengeance of the Moon Knight doesn't let up, but we also see Bushman stuck at Ravencroft. He's down back at Ravencroft. Beautifully drawn. One of my favourite panels is that low shot of Bushman saying Moon Knight's insane, and he's in that cell. And just the look on his face is really kind of forlorn, but the angle really just sells it for me. But yeah, Crawley was fun. Any other things, Connor, that you like to point out from this issue?
Nah, I think we've covered it all, at least from my end.
Excellent. Well, those were Chad's 3 and 4 ranked books from his top 4. So, guys, look, it is getting a wee bit hot here. I think I've sweated out, litres of sweat. I don't know about you, guys. It's probably time to go. Yeah.
I'm pretty keen to get out of Hellfire.
Completely agree.
It's not my favourite place to be.
And Chad, I noticed that you were speaking to how do you pronounce his name again? Malebolgia, the other name for the devil.
Malebolgia, yeah.
Malebolgia, yeah. So you guys were shooting the breeze just then. I saw. Maybe he can help us off to our next destination.
But do I have to? Yeah, we should get out of here.
Let's do it. All right, Loonies, hang tight with us. We'll be right back with Chad's final 2 books.
Hi, this is Chris.
And this is Brian.
And we are the hosts of Inner Demons, the Ghost Rider podcast.
And you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and other podcast apps for all your Ghost Rider needs.
Right on.
Okay, welcome back, Loony listeners. Now, this is a lot better, isn't it, guys? We've got scenery passing us by. We've got, a hot cuppa. We've got some other people around us, other than, Attila the Hun. It's a lot better than hell. How are you guys finding the accommodation here on this train ride?
Oh, I'm coming around. Just like we go from hell to the frozen wastes,
Yeah, it's a lot colder now. Looks colder out there, and Connor as well. You've got your train ticket, okay?
Yeah, look, I'm a pretty big fan of trains. This one's nicely heated for the winter environment. Sure is nice to be climatised properly.
Yeah, true.
To the depths of hellfire, what can I say?
Well, we've got a bit of a journey ahead of us, guys. So, luckily, we're situated in the caboose. So we've got food and drink readily available, and we are heading towards. Sorry, Chad, you're going to have to help me with that name again. Where are we heading towards?
Rozbekistan.
Rozbekistan, of course. We are heading towards there, and that is why. There's a reason why, Loonies. And number 2 in Chad's book choices of top 4 books is The Winter Soldier. And he's chosen this one is from, I believe, 2014, and it is part 2 of the arc called The Bitter March. Now, this was an absolute ripper, I thought. Just before we get into Chad's thoughts and reasons for this, Connor, what did you make of this?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I've just been going through Brubaker's Captain America Winter Soldier stuff for the first time last year. This is just brilliant. It looks great. It fits lovely into the canon.
Yep.
It's a great fucking spy story.
It is good. I know you. I know you kind of like the Winter Soldier as well. I thought this was a surprise for me. So I'm going to have to go and read part 1 and the rest of the parts for this. But Chad, apart from Khonshu and I fawning over this issue, why did you choose this issue as one of your top 2?
I have a lot of sympathy for Bucky and everything that he's gone through. Like his trials getting through being just like a guy who gets a few memories every once in a while to actually trying to function as a human is difficult. And the reason why I thought this would be good for being stuck on a desert island is, it's like you're going to go through a lot of horrible things. It's kind of like, going through the Spawn issue. It's like you're going to have to deal with a lot of personal and, external forces, and you need to keep hold of that. And going through this, it's like, Bucky getting his flashbacks, it's physically paining him. And by the end of this run, it's just like, if it wasn't for him having the tenacity to see it through, he would have fallen by the wayside. So it's just that survivability is admirable. Yeah.
It's very cool. I mean, not having read much of the Winter Soldier stuff, this very much has the same vibe as the movie with Bucky, Winter Soldier being this unstoppable force, which I thought was great. I really enjoyed the time spent on the other characters, like the SHIELD agent.
Ramshan.
I'm just trying to look at his name. Yeah, he's good, and the people he was trying to, I guess, shield from the Winter Soldier. It was really good. There was some really good moments of dialogue and stuff. Really enjoyable. The art as well is
off the charts.
Sorry?
Oh, it's just off the charts.
It is, isn't it? It's like it's stylized, but it's got this nice. It's just cool looking art. I mean, the Winter Soldier looks kick-ass in some of it, and I love it how he's got the red eyes as well.
It reminds me of Rocket Raccoon.
But yeah, it does actually. That's a good, That's actually, I've never thought of that, but now I can't unsee that. So
Yeah, he's just so psychotic and crazed in this one. It's such an intimidating thing to have him as a villain in this one.
And speaking of villains, man, I'm really loving this this pale looking
The Drain.
The Drain, yeah. Don't know too much about him. What does he end up doing, Chad? Has he got some sort of weird power or something?
I'm not sure where it comes from, but he basically, if you're within physical contact of him, he can essentially sap your willpower, your like will to live.
Wow.
He can actually force people to just off themselves. It's really grim.
Wow. Okay.
And there's like no recovery until he's away from you.
Oh wow. It's like he's a bit of a sickness, isn't he? It's he does have that look.
Yeah.
I love his look. There's a really good panel here. It's the one where they're kind of like 5 horizontal panels, and it's the second last one where he kind of shows his teeth. It's got a really unsettling look on his face there.
Yeah.
Actually, there's a couple of them. There's another one where he's got that big dude behind him with the electric gloves, and again you can see I don't know. It's because of the gums. It must be the gums that are doing it for me. But he's showing his red gums against his really pale face. Pretty cool. Sorry?
He kind of looks like David Bowie,
Okay.
but really sinister.
Yeah, I was thinking Christopher Walken, but yeah, I can see the David Bowie actually. Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, when you look like that, there's no other option than to be evil, right? That's pretty silly to say, but it's funny.
Evil or a spaceman.
Evil or
You got 2 options.
Yeah. But no, this is a highly enjoyable, really enjoyable issue. Can I ask then, Chad, why part 2 as opposed to, say, the first part or the finale for this, the bit of March?
I like this because it's the beginning of Bucky breaking through the Winter Soldier persona. There's the bit of tumble that Bucky has in the back alley. You know, he starts his assault on Ran Shen and the 2 operatives who are being recovered, and Ran Shen is a very resourceful guy. He's got 1 crossbow bolt, and it's explosive. He puts it in Bucky's arm, and Winter Soldier, not knowing exactly what type of ordnance it was, gets blown away. And there's a down electrical wire that hits him and puts him into some shock therapy.
Yeah.
And in his recovery time, while Ran Shen is covering the 2 operatives, Winter Soldier starts withering away. Bucky starts breaking through, and he remembers bits of pieces of Steve, just giving him encouragement in the training field, and it's just like, this is really crippling stuff. Like, I find it really emotional that all the different times after this point that he starts remembering bits of training, like the muscle memory starts kicking, and it just fires synapses that were dead, and he gets these horrible memories that he has to now deal with. He's not just, Hydra agent. He actually has a life that he has to deal with, that schism between his personalities.
Yeah, really thought-provoking stuff. It's really... Are you, I was thinking, are you a big fan of Captain America, Chad?
Yeah,
Like,
I love Captain America.
Oh, okay, right. So you collect the comics and because this is because it means so. What you just said, it kind of really hits for you, and it's very much to do with I guess the association Bucky has with Cap America. So I just wanted to know whether he played a part in your in your love for this issue and for Winter Soldier, but that makes sense. Yeah. What would your favourite Cap runs be?
Ooh, I think it would have to be the Ultimates.
Oh wow! Okay, cool.
I know not a lot of people are like completely on for the Ultimates because he had a few choice words that he shouldn't have said. But just the capability physically and the persona that he didn't let up on, I like that nature about people. I like pragmatism.
Mm-hmm.
So if your character can personify that, I'll cling to it a lot more than someone who's wishy-washy.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you familiar with the Ultimates Cap, Connor? Khonshu?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Ultimates in general, but I can definitely see the appeal, and it was very monumentous at the time, early 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah.
Influenced so much going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, every time we have little, every time we have talks about this, I just want to go check out more of them. Like Chad, we just went through Spawn, getting pretty amped to read more Spawn now. Like this bit of March was fantastic. Dare I say, trade worthy. This arc at least. I don't know how it goes with subsequent arcs, but really good stuff. And yeah, Captain America, far out. I want to read more of his stuff now. Like, I'm already thinking of epic collections. But there's this moment, what you talked about, Chad, which was very interesting. There's that one, where he's got in the line, in his sights, those scientists and the lady as well for, let me get this right, is the alchemy formula or something? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the alchemy formula. But he obviously gets the flashbacks, as you mentioned, and it's as you said, it's kind of like the training he's had, and we get the glimpse of Captain America going, in the field, you never shoot a man in the back. When a soldier's running, that's surrender. He's lost the will to fight. And so this is coming back in kind of waves to the Winter Soldier as he lies on his belly, thinking about shooting these 3 people that are running away. And Ran Shen sees that, and I'm not sure whether what do you reckon, Chad? Does he pick up that the Winter Soldier is struggling with that, or is it more that look more of a, oh god, we've just escaped?
Well, Ran Shen has heard of the Winter Soldier in the past.
Okay.
Or, this MO, essentially, that he's like this silent force that no one ever survives.
Yeah.
And the fact that, he's all of a sudden struggling to even get his bearings, that's not the MO of a hardened assassin.
Okay, so he sees the chink in the armor, so to speak, of this myth of the Winter Soldier. Yeah, really, really cool stuff, I find it. Again, really, the fleshing out of the characters here is what really does it for me. And so you have this dynamic of, are they meant to be husband and wife as well? They are, aren't they?
They are, but as the story progresses, some are more loyal than others.
Yeah, well, this guy is an absolute asshole to
Yeah.
and I just like the way he's written and played. I mean, like, it's very drawn out that this guy is not a pleasant guy at all, and his partner, or his wife, I'm just trying to find her name.
Mila.
She's less so. Sorry? Mila, yeah. Oh, yeah. But she has some really, really cool discussions with Ray Chen. Yeah, so I don't know. It's just a really, really good characterization, I think. And so, yeah, and then so I'm looking. So we get the drain as well, and it kind of all culminates with the Winter Soldier crashing in. Well, he kind of finally gets his bearings again, and he's obviously tracking them, and he crashes through on the train. Thankfully, not this train, because
I think we would have heard that.
We would have, yeah, exactly. Although I did see a very pasty-looking guy in the other carriage. I'm hoping that's not the drain. But anyway, we see Winter Soldier come in, and he attacks Ray. And
Ran.
Sorry, so Ran, is it? It's Ran.
Yeah, a bit of a putting yourself there on.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Big action hero.
That's it. Oh, yeah, damn. So so anyway, so Ranchen is fine. He seems pretty good as well. I mean, I guess all Shield agents are pretty well trained, but he gets a winter. Yeah, sorry.
Ranchen here, he actually has like a long history previous to this. Like, he's done tons of different assignments that you can actually read about in different
awesome
Marvel postings. It's pretty intense.
Oh wow, I'd be keen because he seems like a very capable character. He doesn't seem like a throwaway at all. So it's interesting it's illuminating to hear that he actually has got more appearances in comics. It'd be really cool to follow. But he's up against a Winter Soldier, and so he ends up, at the other end of a blade, not being stuck by it, but about to. But then we have, the Hydra goons arriving, and this big fella. What happens after this, Chad? No spoilers because it's 2014. But who is this big dude? Was he just a big hunk of junk?
So his title that he, I think, gives himself, because it's not very imaginative and whatnot, he calls himself Shocky Dan. Like, ooh.
Oh, wow. Jeez. That's something he's made himself, obviously.
Right?
Yeah.
And he basically comes in, tries to, screw things up, really working with Winter Soldier, and essentially it boils down into a melee. Shocky Dan is taken out. And, there's a bit where Ranchen gets those Shocky Dan gloves on.
Oh, cool.
There's a lot of blood at the end of it. No spoilers, but...
Okay.
There's...
Actually, good, because, keen to read it. But there's what, sorry? It's
there's...
the tip of your tongue, isn't it?
Yeah. Nick Fury is in the next few issues.
Woohoo! Junior? Senior?
Senior.
Cool.
Yeah. He comes in, does a bit of work. Winter Soldier starts getting hit by the drain at one point. So, you get to see that.
It's, okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a David Bowie song to try to be witty, but nothing's coming to me. Cool, nice one. Are you collecting any current Winter Soldier? There's one with... Yeah? How are you finding that?
New series is great.
Is it? Okay. That's with Rod Reyes, our friend of the show, Rod Reyes. The art's good. Who's writing it? Is it...
I'm actually...
Carl Higgins.
Who was it? Sorry?
Carl Higgins.
Carl Higgins, okay. Alright.
He's done a lot of fun Nightwing stuff.
Yeah, nice one. And how would you compare, Chad, the current run with how Winter Soldier's being handled or portrayed with obviously the Bitter March, which has a place in your heart?
Well, it's a really different feel for the character of Bucky, Winter Soldier, like completely, because in the new series that's out, he's sort of a mentor character. He's trying to save people.
Okay.
Meanwhile, here he's like this, brazen assassin that he can just let loose, and he just takes people out.
Yeah. So that part of it is very much, I guess, done and dusted, isn't it? Like, he's now out in the open. People know him. He's no longer a myth or an unstoppable force. He's regained his control of himself, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say? Yeah. Okay.
He's
over here,
his own man.
His own man, yeah. Because over here, it's similar to the movies, isn't it? Is it? Like, he's like brainwashed, and is he triggered by words and stuff in this run?
Not that I've seen. If they do implement that, it's not shown yet.
Okay. But he's controlled, though, isn't he? Like, he's... Or is he just really being like a brainwashed good soldier for someone?
He's being a good soldier for someone. Like, that's the thing about the Bitter March. Like I was saying, it's like anytime he starts to get hints of who he was, the schism, like his personality just like sets in, and he's got to deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the Winter Soldier, he was found on the ice with 0 memories, so they just rewrote new memories for him. And whenever he seems to, trying to find an old piece of himself, they just strap him back, back in the machine and just write it away.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, is that what you're saying in the movie or in the books?
In the books.
Yeah, because that's pretty much in the movies as well. Yeah. You know how they strap him and he's starting to get a bit of his memory back. Then, God, who was it in the Winter Soldier? Robert Redford.
Pierce.
Alex Pierce. Yeah, he puts him back in the chair and they just zap him to make him compliant again. So yeah, okay, that seems very accurate to, to each other, the book and the films. So cool. Anything else here, Khonshu or Chad, that you'd like to raise about this issue? I mean, we can't laud it enough. It is a very if you Loonies, it really is a must-read, and I dare I say the whole bit of March arc. But yeah, very very good read here by Remender. But anything else, Chad, that you want to raise for this?
The almost like subtitles. They're like little paraphrasings of what's going on each issue. They're all pretty amusing. Like this one, number 2. Was Spies on a Train, and then the next one is The Spy Who Punched Me. And it's amusing stuff. It's like as serious as it gets. It's like obvious callbacks to different bits of media.
Yeah, it's got a bit of quirkiness about it. So, yeah, nice. Well, how about we go to your number 1 pick now?
Okay.
Now this is a heavyweight, and the Loonies.
One of the most important books in history.
Yeah, pretty much. And I told Chad earlier, this is the first time I've actually read it. It's very good, and it is Batman. We can say that. The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, with Klaus Janson and Lynn Varley. So this is book 1 that, Chad, you have chosen as your top book. A very astute choice, I think, Chad, because it is larger than a normal issue, which is good, but it still falls under our criteria as a single issue. Very iconic cover here with Batman, jumping down. In the foreground is a shadow with a bolt of lightning in the background. A lot of covers have paid homage to this as well. But yeah, first off, I guess, Chad, we'll have to ask, why did you choose this? I mean, it is a great book. Asking as in, why, what it means to you.
In this case, with, this book, and it is a book, it's not an issue, it's like a full set of pages, it's binding, and all that jazz. This is really set apart for me because there's a lot of introspection towards the character of Batman. Like, I'm not sure where to really start with this because there's a lot of things that it hits on over the course of these pages. Like, as far as, like, the curse of the Batman on himself and the correlation with Two-Face. It's just like, no matter how many times you try and get away from what you've been in the past, it's like when you identify yourself as an idea, it's stuck in your gray matter until you can actually get rid of the gray matter. You're gonna go to sleep with it.
Yeah,
and it's just really intense stuff.
It is a bit of old school storytelling here, with Frank Miller not afraid, obviously, to populate with some dialogue and narrative, which is good. A very and the panel layouts were the first thing I thought, which were quite noticeable as well. Very structured and size-wise, I guess, a lot smaller, right? So, I mean, I found it quite interesting to read. Khonshu, any thoughts on your first impressions for this? When was the last time you read it, or when did you first read it, actually?
When I first got back into comics some years ago, but I probably haven't read it since then. The animated movie adaptation is pretty good as well. I watched that before that as well. Yeah, Yeah. What's to say about this that hasn't already been said?
Yeah.
Frank Miller kind of went off the rails.
Yeah.
Very much, but this is like the height of his career. It's still one of the most important comics, and it's such a, and it really is the first time we've looked at Batman this way. It's such a, such a focus on his ideals and his existence, and Klaus Janson just brings, especially with the action here, as he's, so much more brutal and having to work himself so much more, and that like wonderful introspective. On Batman facing his own death and having to come to terms with being back. Wonderful.
It's also as well, I'm not sure, but it seems to be early enough. It probably would have been the first type of story to tell like an old man kind of setting. I mean, we see it now a lot with Marvel, with Old Man Logan, Old Man Hawkeye, Old Man Quill. We've seen it in the DC with Injustice. They're a bit older, but this would have to be the original, right? The first time you actually see a hero way past his prime, and him struggling with the identity, like who he is and what has made him, Batman. And as you mentioned, Chad, his struggle with that and this gnawing thing inside of him that he just has to... It's gnawing itch that he just has to scratch, basically. Very, very interesting. And the other thing with this, it takes it obviously further with you see the other villains kind of progress. So with Two-Face, he is like fixed, but for all intents and purposes. But we see later that that's not really the case. And also there are allusions here to the Joker as well. Very interesting stuff to see, like a little peek into the future. So, quite enjoyable, I thought. Chad, what, I guess, so what was the main part of this story, I think, that kind of made it quite memorable for you? I mean, I'm again looking through here. There's a retelling of Batman's origin, which I'm sure isn't the reason. I mean, there's plenty of retellings of that. Is it the Two-Face thing then?
It's kind of important, yeah. It keeps with the, kind of the ideals that I was going with some of the other comics. It's like being able to fight through everything, and in his case, no matter what's going on around him, I honestly see Two-Face as like more an iron will than even Batman here. Because even though he's been fixed, according to, the doctors, his face is, matching, it's chiral, all that jazz, he doesn't see it that way. And, he can be fixed, he can be, re-educated or, assessed by another psychologist. Some new therapy can come out, but like Two-Face will always see himself as Two-Face. Yeah,
it's one of those points. It's interesting though, because they do say that he has been rehabilitated, but obviously physically it's a success with the plastic surgeon, but this rehabilitation with his psychosis obviously not as successful as they probably hoped, because still some very much lingering demons in that closet there. One of the main big things I really love here, and I think it's a real kick-ass moment, is the return of Batman, like the costumed Batman. It's so well drawn out here by Frank Miller. You see just the various criminals in Gotham kind of assaulted out of nowhere by someone in the dark, and it's such a big build-up. I thought it works really well, and it's got the bolt of lightning at the back, and you finally see it when it's almost a splash page. Well, it is a splash page of Batman swooping down, and it's just a really nice moment, I thought. And the beauty of him being a caped crusader and masked is that he still looks exactly the same. He looks timeless, because you only really got like the mouth area exposed, to show if he's aged or not. And the descriptions of him kind of like, I used to not make a sound when I creep up on criminals. Now he's kind of a little older, a little tighter. He's not as, adept in his kind of ninja skills. But yeah, I think it was the build-up to the final reveal of Batman in costume was really good for me. How about yourself, Chad?
Like you were saying, he's not as, one with the shadows as he used to be. But, he goes on to say, this should be agony. I should be a massive, aching muscle, broken, spent, unable to move.
Yeah.
But
I like how kick-ass he is as well. He goes, I'm not as good as I was before. I actually have to use my legs now to climb this rope. And I'm thinking, buddy, if I had to climb a rope, I'd need all my bloody limbs to just get up a few meters. But obviously that's, not as good as he used to do it. I really love that description. It really does sell the story that he's an older, tighter, but no less lethal protector of Gotham.
Yeah. And
I
was about to say, goes on to go on about the, he's no longer a man of 30 or of 20 again. It's just like, how many years has it been?
I know. He's definitely no longer a man of 30 or 20 or 40 or 50. He's coming to his 80th year this year. Really, really cool stuff. What can you tell us about the mutants? They come up every now and again as this new wave of crime, and they cast away these notions that they're just street hoodlums. There's something else. Having been familiar with the rest of the arc here, Chad, how do they play a part in this whole scheme of things?
Well, once again, it's like another fresh wave of, organized crime, because that's what Gotham has delved into is, instead of the usual, the end is nigh type of billboards and signage, you can see people on the street say, "We are damned." And they're, actively wailing in horror. That's what it's turned into. It's like, no, the end is already upon them, and that's the mutants. That's what they've done to everyone. It's they'll assault people in arcades, behind, closed doors anywhere they can find them. And essentially the ringleader of the mutants essentially calls out, Bruce Wayne, Batman. And they have a little bit of a tussle, and Batman comes out victorious, and he pretty much regains his, what's the right term? He regains a piece of himself. He's back to being vengeance, all that jazz.
Yes. Yeah. And there's also, with this, you can see a lot of borrowed material for the films. I guess they take a lot from this, obviously being such a classic. So one of the things I immediately identified with is that that young Bruce falling in that hole or discovering the Batcave. And that's you very much see that in, I believe it's Batman Begins, right, with Christian Bale. That's lifted straight off that. So obviously this issue or this arc or tale is very intrinsic to Batman lore and testament to Frank Miller's writing prowess. I mean, geez, the guy, we're talking about him hitting the heights in here. He totally smashed it out of the park, I thought, with Daredevil years before with it. I mean, he was honing his craft then, wasn't he, of trying to get this kind of rugged, grounded, street-level superhero storytelling. And he certainly kind of brought the best bits of Daredevil, of what he learned from there, into The Dark Knight Returns.
I would actually say that his run with Daredevil was just as good as this book.
Oh, yeah, I love it. I think it's great. And yeah, Okay. Yeah, I mean, but I guess what do you say? Popular opinion wise, I guess The Dark Knight Returns is really seen as Connor mentioned, like, you know, one of the classics now. But I would agree with you as well. It's very strongly written. Daredevil, Frank Miller, he knew exactly what type of city he wanted to portray New York as. It's really about building that sense, isn't it? I mean, him building that feeling of the city. So very very much does it with Gotham here. And the people around it.
Yeah. I think that would be really important to note that in this retelling of Bruce falling into the Batcave, it's actually a rabbit hole. Like, and then that opens into the Batcave. I think that's an important thing to note, because it's also kind of like, you know, falling down the rabbit hole for Alice.
Rabbit hole, yeah, very cool. Actually, that is very, I didn't make that association, but that is very cool. Yeah, for sure. What was it in the movie? It was just a bit of, it was just a hole, wasn't it? Was it a well?
I don't think they actually adopted this part into the movie, but he's kind of like, when it comes to turning into the Batman again, he's staring at, you know, the usual, like, rainy evening, and a bat crashes through. No, I'm wrong here. He goes back down to the Batcave and has, like, kind of a confessional to the darkness, and a giant bat comes out at him.
Yeah.
And he's, like, reuniting with that part of himself.
Yeah, for sure. Connor Shu, any thoughts on The Dark Knight Returns?
No, more from me. I think we covered it. Covered this mammoth issue.
Yeah. No, it's a very interesting read, and again, something have to put on my to-do list as well. But Chad, a very strong choice for an ISLA RA pick. Before we kind of wrap things up, Chad, you did mention online we wanted to pay tribute to these issues being dedicated to people.
Yeah. Let's see here. So, the Spawn issue, it was dedicated to Mary... Oh, I wrote it down. Mary Kolomajek? I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it was the inspiration for Granny Blake in the series, which is Wanda's grandmother.
Ah, right.
And she's a persistent character throughout the series, and is kind of important to note that. But also, William Younghoops, for The Dark Knight Returns, he wrote Savage Tales and a few other things, and he died when he was 30. He was just getting into the comics. And this is actually dedicated to him, so that's huge.
Yeah, for sure. No, and definitely have to shout that out. So, no, absolutely. Well, Chad, just like to say thank you so much for sharing your top 4 books with us. It's been very
great set,
enlightening. Sorry, Connor?
Oh, just a great set of 4.
Yeah, great, and a fantastic set. So thank you so much for sharing, Chad. Very disparate, but as you've mentioned, there is a common thread that runs through them. Yes, this struggle of man, or the individual against odds, really does show itself in all 4 books. Big thanks to you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we are stuck on this train. We've still got a way to go. I think I see... Is it Shocky Dan going down the aisle? So, before we go... Khonshu, where can Loonies find us?
They can find us at a bunch of marvellous places, not including this train, because we'll be hopefully off here soon. We're Gmail at itkmoonnight@gmail.com. And then our Facebook is facebook.com/itkmoonnight. We're Into the Night podcast.wordpress.com. All our new episodes, updates and newsletters are on both of those, as well as our links to the other great podcasts in the collective. We're on Twitter at ITK Moon Knight. search Into the Night or ITK Moon Knight, ITK Podcast, you hopefully find us on YouTube, Instagram, Tumblr, podcast catchers, and our fantastic group where we met Chad. It's facebook.com/groups/ITK Moon Knight.
Yes. And a big thanks again to
The power of Chad.
he is really he's been a really great Loony member in the community, and it's just so great to finally get to hear his top 4 books and get to know you a bit more, Chad, as well. So Loonies, just drop us a line or drop a line into the ITK community, say hello to Chad. It's all good, and if you have any questions about the issues, Chad's your man. A big thanks once again, Chad. Look, we have to probably get out of here before Shocky Dan starts shaking all of our hands. We'll see you next time, Loonies. Thank you for listening to the ISLA RA Sessions, and we'll have another one next time. We have another Waning Gibbous. So, as we always say, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Bye.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.